Hello and welcome. This is Charles Fockaert, May 10, 2019. Thank you for supporting this channel. Thank you for the comments. I really appreciate the comments. I thank you for the text. I thank you for the fellowship. We're all fellows in the same ship, and there's not very many of us in the ship. Are you with me on that? I got a lot of things to talk about. I want to talk about Trump and North Korea, Trump and China, Trump and the tariffs, Trump's in Mexico, Trump in the third world invasion, and the fact that we're being banned and censored and removed from our ability to reply and respond and react and to discuss the issues that we as white Caucasian males, along with our women and children, face. They're going to force us, they're going to force us into violence. They're already talking about it. But let's get back to Trump, shall we? Like so many others out there with a much larger audience, because people love to be told what they want to hear. I said from the very beginning, go back 2 years ago, you can check, it's on the record, it's on this channel, unless I get removed. Trump's going to be worse than Obama. Trump's going to be worse than Obama. Here we are 2 years later. I don't think you have any evidence that supports or that is opposed to my statement that Trump is going to be worse than Obama. Let's talk about North Korea. Here we are 2 years later. See, I lived in South Korea for 5 years. I won't go over the previous videos, but they're there 2 years ago. Unlike some of these other people that make a comment 2 years ago or 6 months ago or even last week, and most people forget that they were wrong, and they continue to grow. They continue to have a wide audience and a wide influence, and yet they don't know what they're talking about. North Korea, once again, 2 years later, nothing's changed. He's still the boogeyman. Pops up. It's the Donald Trump and Kim Jong-un show. There's no threat there, folks. Never has been. We need a conflict in that area because we have 25,000 troops in South Korea. We have 40,000 troops next door in Japan. Add them up, 65,000 troops minimum that they admit to. Think for a moment how much that costs. And that allows our military to be bloated and unnecessary in all the other parts of the world, and yet we're being invaded on our own border. We're over there, our troops are over there in our name, protecting the South Koreans from the North Koreans from an invasion, and yet they can't even be on our own border. Trump is a failure there. And I'm going to get to that in a minute. But that's Trump and North Korea. Trump and China show. Trump and China show. He's got the whole trade thing in an uproar. It's all in tumult. The problem is he's too late. He's too late. The Esau Edomites transferred our technology, our manufacturing, our know-how to China and Mexico and a few other places for free. Trillions of dollars of infrastructure to build and to invent and to develop and to manufacture products that the Caucasian race knew how to develop. But it took the infrastructure. I can't find my notes here, but I had notes about infrastructure being roads, then railroads, then steam engines for the locomotive to carry our natural resources across country to get the timber from the west back to the east, etc., to get the coal, etc. Then we developed radio so we could communicate with each other. And then we developed, the Morse code on the telegraph lines. We figured that out. Then we came up with radio. Then we came up with automobiles and trucks. Then we came up, you get the picture. That was the Caucasian race, and that was developed right here for the most part, and for much of it, also in Europe, Germany, France, other European Caucasian-related countries, nations, 12 tribes of Israel. That's who the Europeans are, folks. So we were a blessing, not the Esau Edomites. We were the blessing. We, the 12 tribes of Israel, were the blessing to many nations. Well, that education, the colleges, the warm homes, the street lights, the electricity, the patent protection, the monetary system, the markets that we developed, the contracts, the legal system that protected contracts so you could take the risk, and if you had a dispute, you had a legal remedy to resolve the dispute. That's how commerce carried on. They didn't have that in these other nations, folks. That's why the third world nations didn't develop until we came along and gave them these laws. It was Henry Kissinger, for those of you with eyes to see and ears to hear, was in China having a secret meeting with the Chinese leaders. I forget his name, Zhao Ping Pong, forget, doesn't matter their names, Chow En Lao or Cho En Lao or whoever it was, doesn't matter. They wanted me to go fight communism in next door Vietnam while Henry Kissinger was going there and getting things set up for the takeover, for the rape, for the plunder of the manufacturing and the infrastructure capabilities of the United States, and we shipped it all over to China little by little, manufacturing steel for shipbuilding and bridge building and railways, etc. Why did we send the scrap steel from the Twin Towers collapse plus Building 7 evidence? Why was that evidence shipped at an emergency level, at an emergency speed to China to get the evidence? Destruction of evidence is a federal, it is a criminal offense. Nobody was charged. And Hillary Clinton is still walking free. Lock her up, lock her up, lock her up. Another Trump failure or lie. And she's even thinking about running again in 2020. Imagine that. From lock her up to maybe the next president of the United States. But I digress. So China ends up with all of our manufacturing capabilities, and little by little, our capabilities diminish because they go there and use their cheaper labor. Folks, labor, it's one of the things I learned when I was in university, is labor is the highest or the major cost of production. It's labor. I don't want to go into that, but everything, every part, every mineral, every resource, everything involved in manufacturing something includes labor. Labor is the biggest cost. But what did they do? The Esau Edomites shipped our manufacturing over to China and Mexico so that they could pay lower labor costs. Bye-bye pensions, bye-bye Social Security, bye-bye medical care, bye-bye all of that stuff that we Caucasians here in the United States used to enjoy, and we created for ourselves a very good living. But not we. I didn't get the vote on that. Did you get the vote on the fact that we're going to send all our manufacturing um, over to China? Did you get the vote on that? No, no, no. Our traders in Congress, the people that the majority of Americans still look to for solutions to their problems. They gave it to you in the rear end years ago, but you still think they want to help you. So here's what happened. What was it? 1999, year 2000, when I was in Thailand, that China came into the WTO, the World Trade Organization. So now they had all these agreements. They had the contracts that we, the Caucasians, devised to enable each other to engage in commerce. Based on that, China's now in, and they start manufacturing products that we should be manufacturing here in the United States because we developed them. It was our infrastructure. It was our patent. It was our innovation. It was our ability. It was our management. It was our skill that developed these this equipment, these items that we need and we use and we buy on a daily basis. And now we're forced to buy most of our products from China because we don't have any more manufacturing. So instead of Texas Instruments or Zenith color TVs, remember that? They're the one who invented, if I'm not mistaken, the color TV. Where is Zenith today? We're buying these cheap South Korean TVs, television. Not me. I don't buy TV or flat screens now. Okay, Korean and Chinese phones and Apple makes their iPhone in China. It's China, 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 China. My part on my heater that went bad in less than a year. The switch on the PC board, the relay switch made in China, the whole board made in China, gone. I don't even hardly use the heater, and it didn't work, and it's broken again. I got a Suburban heater, which is a POS. Here I am sitting up in high elevation Arizona, and the Chinese furnace, not a heater, it's a furnace, doesn't work. So we're dependent on parts from China, and for the most part, they're junk. Just like the parts from Japan when I was a young man in my 60s. Made in Japan was a joke. We are a third world nation now. I'm going to get to that a little bit more in a minute. I want to say one thing before I forget. Tom Fitton, you're being played. Trump is playing you like a fiddle, boy, and you're a well-tuned fiddle. I've heard you say more than once, this is huge. Trump retweeted 5 of my tweets. I forget what group you're involved in, the 10th Amendment Center or whatever it is. You think you're going to solve problems using the government. The government is the cause of the problem. Didn't you learn that from Ronald Reagan back in the 80s? The government is not the solution to the problem. The government is the problem. You need to stop thinking that your representatives, especially Trump, is going to do some good on your behalf. He's not on your side. He's the Pied Piper. I've said that 2 years ago. So, tariffs. So Trump thinks he's going to help Americans by imposing tariffs. The bottom line is on tariffs, and it doesn't take a degree in economics to understand this, folks. China or Mexico, and I'll get to that in a minute, are not going to pay the tariffs. So who's going to pay the tariffs? You are. You're going to pay the tariffs. The customer always pays the cost in the end, or the company or the corporation goes out of business. It's as simple as that. Tariffs. And now we're buying, we have a $500 billion a year in the red trade balance with China. $500 billion a year. And they're trying to reduce that trade deficit, which is a good thing. But guess what? We no longer have the manufacturing to be able to produce the things that we need. We've all lost our jobs because our jobs all went overseas to make the Baofeng and the Yaesu instead of us buying Kenwood. I think it's Kenwood. And how many of the parts in a Kenwood are now made in China? So instead of us buying a Motorola that we can afford, we can only afford these cheaper Chinese made. And then you have a problem because you can't get anything done because they send you a bad cable. So you try to buy the right cable, you go on their website and it doesn't work and they can't help you. And they want you to go out and go do something else in order to make the product that you already bought from them work. Same thing with, I'll give you another example, the antenna. They send you this little dinky little antenna and they say, so you have something that works, and if you want more, you have to go out and on a separate, just put a good antenna on the radio. Just put the right cable, a genuine Baofeng cable in the box. Increase the price. I'll pay the increased price, and I don't have to go looking for an antenna. I don't have to go looking for the cable. Sorry about the rant, but this, and I don't have to go looking for your cheap ass parts for my furnace. Put good quality parts. We've become a third world country, folks. Seattle's a shithole. Portland's right behind it. San Francisco is certainly a shithole. Los Angeles, they got homeless people all over the left coast. California is finished because they think they're going to be able to suck more out of the producers. That's why I wanted to leave I wanted to leave Southern California in the early 90s, but the ex-wife was planning her big departure, the big D, from California community property. That's another problem we have with the Esau Edomites. They're destroying the family in the United States, so we're becoming worse in that regard than third world countries. At least from what I saw in third world countries, the families were pretty much still together, and it was a patriarchal system in both Central America and in Asia. The only matriarchal system that we have now is in the Caucasian race. Completely upside down from what it should be, but I digress. He's like the bull in the China cabinet when it comes to economics. He doesn't know what he's doing, and it's a big show. He's got to be right there in the center of attention. He can't. The guy bankrupt. And I heard him say he doesn't want you to see his income taxes. Why? Because he was a loser. A loser. He didn't know how to make, he knew how to make money, and he knew how to scam it using the Esau Edomite attorneys to be able, he was in a money laundering business, the casinos. It's all cash there, folks. Think about it. Doesn't want you to see his tax returns. Thing you have to do, Mr. Trump, is you have to encourage the manufacturing to come back here to the United States to make the product that we need. Then you can raise the tariffs. If you would have had tariffs in place in the 1970s, that's how the Constitution was set up, folks. We conduct commerce among ourselves. We protect our markets. That's what they do in South Korea. Go read the book, The Good Samaritan, by some Korean guy. I can't remember his name. I read the book when I was in Korea. I have it in my library. There is no such thing as fair trade, folks. There is no such thing. The Koreans don't buy American cars. The Koreans don't buy Motorola. The Koreans don't buy HP. They're taught only to buy their products, and they have barriers. And they don't even need the barriers because they're programmed. They look after themselves, their own jobs. Imagine that. They buy Hyundais and they buy Gears and they buy LG and they buy Samsung and they buy Korean. Gee, imagine that. What do? White people do? We buy everybody else's products except our own because we care more about other races than we do ourselves. I didn't get to vote on that, did you? I didn't get to vote on that. Almost forgot about the tariffs in Mexico. They're going to put there's tariffs on Mexico that are going to cost tomatoes, just for one example, never mind avocados, just tomatoes. This tomato, I'm in Arizona, this tomato is from Mexico. Well, they just increased the tariff, I understand, or there's some problems regarding the imports of tomatoes, so they're going to go up 20% approximately. So it may become hard to find. That's just one example of inflation. I want to show you something else. How they're. This is kind of an aside, but we're rapidly becoming a worse of a third. We're already a third world nation, folks, and our economics, our national debt, and our personal debt, and our corporate debt, and our government debt, on all levels, shows that we don't have enough income, so we have to borrow and borrow and borrow, and we're in a downward spiral borrowing, and they don't know how to get out of it. Here's just a real small, simple example. They're telling us there's no inflation, and I call bullshit. This is the other day I went in and bought these matches, and I said, well, wait a minute. Wow, I mean, those used to be 300 in a box. And I thought, well, I'm getting older. Maybe I made a mistake, and it's always been 250. No. Here's 300 matches in the box. You wonder what's the difference? 17.7% or almost 18%, if I remember right, increase. They just put fewer in the same box, folks. And I could give you many other examples of how they're hiding the inflation. I was in the store the other day. The regular price is XYZ, but you get a much cheaper price, but you got to buy 14 of them. Now, what the hell am I going to do with 14 of this one product so I can save a few dollars? Us older people on a fixed income are getting it again. We got shafted when we were working, and now when we got to live on the money that they give us, that they should have invested in gold. Oh boy, is that a subject we could go into. Instead, they kept printing the currency. What's coming? The reason I mention this is what's coming here in the United States is an inflation because of the tariffs from China for almost everything we buy. Our phones, our parts for our furnace, except parts for the car come from Mexico. Everything we buy is going to go up in cost in relation to the Federal Reserve note, owned and operated and controlled and printed by and generated by your friendly Esau Edomites at the Federal Reserve System, whose chairman a while back said that gold is not money, even though Alan Greenspan back in the 60s and 70s was a gold bug. And even though the central banks are buying up the gold worldwide, they want their gold back. That's the people in charge of our economy, and you think they're out for your best interest. You best think again, you Judeo-Christians. You're the one, because the numbers are on your side, and you're supporting these Esau Edomites. You're the one who is destroying this country, and we're being punished. Folks, the bottom line is we Caucasians are being punished, and we're not getting out of this without Yahweh's help. We're being invaded. Trump's not doing a damn thing about it. Get that through your head. Trump is not doing a damn thing about the invasion coming from the South. He could stop it in a heart. I could stop it in a heartbeat. I guarantee you. Make me king for a year. I'll stop the invasion on the first friggin' day, folks. Okay, Yuma declared an emergency. What they do is they say, I want to seek asylum. They let them in, and then they let them go. Well, they're in. They're coming across the border. There's a 1,500-yard space west of Yuma. They're coming in. They arrested the militia, one of the guys in the militia, and told them, stand down. We don't want you preventing the non-Americans, the non-Caucasian Americans, the illegal area. We don't want your help. We don't want you to take it into your own hands. We don't want you to be vigilante. We want those people coming in, and we don't want to let you stop them. Trump's not going to stop them. The Border Patrol can't stop them. There's too many of them coming in, but we don't want you protecting your own country. Our government doesn't want us down on the border. They wouldn't want me going down there and say, hey, I'm going to help you protect the border. But I wanted to show you this. I'm going to have to look into this a little more. I just read through it. There's an Indian nation called the Tohono O'Odham Indian Reservation. I probably pronounced that wrong. Sorry, don't mean to. But they're taking steps. They're in Arizona here. They're taking steps on their own to protect their nation. And they're talking about a wall. They don't want a wall. They want towers up, etc. I won't go into that. If this Indian nation on our geographical land here in the United States can protect their borders from invasion, why can't we? Why are we being prevented from doing something that needs to be done? Where the hell are all the militias? Where are they? We're being invaded. Hello? We're being invaded. Nobody's stopping them. They're bringing third worlders in here that can't pay their own way, that shouldn't be here, that are lawbreakers. We have to obey the law. It's going to become illegal. I'm going to become a lawbreaker if I speak out against these Esau Edomites. It's going to be a criminal offense. I knew this was coming. They want to put us in prison. They wanted to put me in jail back in the 98, 99, 2000, and that's why I left the United States for 13 years. They were trying to put me in jail. They push, they push, they push. They're expecting a reaction. They want you to react. They want to put you into the system. And that's where we're headed, folks. Don't fall for it. Hold out. Don't use force. I'm not advocating violence, but they are not going to give us any other choice. And when they do, when they take that one step too far, and then we got the sanctions. Our government is putting sanctions on Russia, Venezuela, Iran. We have no business in foreign entanglements. No business doing that, and yet here we are. We're not even taking care of our own border, folks. How much more evidence do you stupid Judeo-Christians need to understand that you're supporting, you're aiding and abetting your enemy, helping them to destroy your country, making you think that you should be more concerned with other races, with other nations, with one particular nation. So let's move the embassy in that nation. Let's help this nation stifle any criticism against them, against their expansion, against what they're doing there in Palestine. Let's support that as much as we can, and let's do very little, if anything. In fact, let's outright destroy the economy in the United States. I want to thank you for watching. Thank you for supporting this channel. And may the grace of God forgive me for all of the things that I forgot to say here. And may His grace, the Father of the white race, the Caucasian race, the Israelites. I don't know why some of you white people resist that with all your strength. We can't be the Israelites. We can't be this God's chosen. We can't be special. Everybody else is special but us. May that God, that special God of a special people, may He be upon us all, the Caucasian race, for we most certainly need it. See ya.